Hello everyone, how's it going? I'm Miyu, and today I'll be reading Chapter 4 of Heaven by Mieko Kawakami. Enjoy! Chapter 4. Approaching the first day of September, when school would start again, I felt something happening in my body. Whatever I saw, whatever I thought about, no longer felt real. When I lay awake in bed, my throat stung like it was being speared. A weight pressed on my chest. Sometimes it manifested as a fever. I probably could have used it as an excuse to start school later, but only a couple of days at most, and my absence may have drawn the attention of Miya and his friends, which was something I was hoping to avoid. The last thing I wanted to do was pique their curiosity. When I was sitting by the door, putting on my shoes to go, my mom wondered out loud if it was a cold. "Just try to go," she said. "If you feel too crummy, you can always come home." The summer showed no sign of ending. It was as if this summer would last all year until another summer finally took its place. The days retained all of the humidity and heat and brutal sunlight of summer at its peak, refusing to relent. Nothing had changed at school. The same old crowd of ratty classmates up to the same old things. Same uniforms, same color to their skin, same way of slouching in their chairs, and the same tone of their voice for all the same topics. The trips they took were the famous singers they saw, their voices blended into one voice, the voice of the class. Between classes, as I was fanning myself with one of my folders, one of the girls practically spat at me. "Watch yourself, eyes." Another one said, "What? You're still alive?" and laughed. A juice box came at me through the air. Same old thing. Kojima sat rigid in her seat. No matter how long I watched that head of hair, it never moved. No one spoke to Kojima, and Kojima spoke to no one. Staring at her back, I imagined myself walking up to her and saying, "Hey, Kojima," the way normal people talk. "How was your week?" She'd look at me, raising her eyebrows, then probably giggle. No, definitely. I can see the hair on her lip now, the stains on the neck of her shirt. Those were her signs. They mattered, and there was nothing wrong with them. What if I explained that to the class? "Hey everybody, know the things you always make fun of Kojima for? Guess what? They all serve a purpose. They're her way of remembering the time she spent living with her dad. All of you have things you value more than anything, right? Photos or maybe letters. In reality, it's all just paper, but we project our memories and emotions onto them, giving them meaning, and that's what makes them more than paper. And out of all those pictures and letters, I bet one or two stand out from the rest, special in a way that no one else would ever understand. That's what it feels like for Ujima to look the way she does. I know it might sound weird, but if photos and letters can mean that much, if you can admit how much they mean to you, is it really so strange that being dirty could do the same thing for someone else? We all see the world in our own way. At first they would look stunned, or at least pretend to be, but as my explanation sank in, they would sigh to show they understood, like they knew it was true. Then Kojima would turn around and smile, like she was happy and free, and we could enjoy talking about all the things we did on our own over the summer. Somebody bumped into my desk and roused me from the fantasy. The bell was ringing, time for class. The teacher walked in wearing an orange polo shirt. His arms and face were burnt to a crisp. I kept my hands inside the cool space of my desk and half listened as the teacher spoke. Sometimes he'd say something and the class would kind of laugh. I just watched, barely conscious, but I could see that Kojima was the only one sitting still. She didn't move a muscle. Gazing at her triggered dark emotions. I had zero power. Who was I kidding? Less than zero. I could never do any of the things I was imagining. Nothing I could do would actually free Kojima. She was what, 10 feet away? I couldn't even call her name. I got this letter from Kojima in the last week of September. The tone of the writing was nothing like any other letter she had given me. "Greetings and salutations. Can you believe it's this hot? I'm glad I sit over by the window now. I've been wanting to tell you. So I'm writing you a letter for the first time in a while. I know we see each other at school, but it feels like we haven't talked in forever. How are you? When I'm at home and when I'm at school, I think a lot about the time over summer when we went to the museum and what we talked about on the stairs. How about you? I know this is random, but you're so nice. I think so, at least. When I think about it, it almost hurts. I can't put it any better than that. You and I talked about all kinds of things, but I hope we can keep it up just like in the spring. I really want us to keep talking, and talk about even more things. What about you? Maybe you're thinking, what's left to talk about? But I swear, if we meet up again, we'll have all kinds of things to say. How about we meet on the stairs and talk some more? By the way, I wanted to tell you, I finally kind of had a fight with my mom's new guy. Although there's nothing new about him as a human being or in our lives. Well, it wasn't really a fight, just a tiff. In the heat of the moment, though, I said everything that was on my mind. He had this stupid look on his face like he knows everything. He was smiling the whole time. I've never been more upset in my whole life. Meanwhile, he heard me out with that dumb smile and gave me one of his life lectures and looked really smug about it. I couldn't stop thinking about how this guy has probably never had a chance to think about anything that actually matters. When you think about it that way, it's kind of sad. Like, maybe it's not his fault. I started to think that maybe I should forgive him. I wondered if maybe he's sort of a victim too. It got me thinking. Honestly, I started wondering about the other kids at school. Just like we're victims, they could be victims of something bigger than any of us. I felt sorry for them when they laughed in my face and called me names or came after me in the bathroom. But if I told them everything I'm telling you, they would never understand. Same way that I learn from what they've done to me, I think they need to learn, but not from me. It has to be a consequence of their own actions. Otherwise, they'll never understand. They need to learn about themselves from what they've done to me. That would be enough to justify my life. Anyway, I could probably write about my thoughts forever, but this letter has gotten pretty long. I think I've been writing for like 5 hours. I just really wanted to talk. Sorry to go on and on. I should stop here. Bye for now. She'd never written me anything that long. It took me 10 times as long to read it. I tried writing back, but I couldn't. She had made so many references to things she had said to me the last time we had seen each other. I understood what she was saying, but I had nothing to share. Shying away from the blank lines on the paper, I thought about Kojima and thought about myself. After a while, I pulled the slipcase down from my bookshelf and read through all the letters she'd ever written me. They were all so lively, like she was right there next to me, speaking her mind. As I went, I got caught up in wondering about how my letters sounded to her, what kind of mood they conveyed. What had I been writing? I remembered how she wrote once about when you send someone a letter, how it's out of your hands. It's not yours anymore, even though you wrote it. I stuffed her letters back into the slipcase and lay down on my bed, staring at the ceiling. I wanted to see her so badly. I sat up but forced myself back to bed and closed my eyes. Every second her name stroked through my nervous system, getting larger and larger, filling my blood. I sat up again and pulled down the slipcase and read through those old letters from the beginning. I was unsure of how I felt about the long one or how I should respond. Going through her letters made me sure I wanted to see her, but feeling the way I did, I wondered if I should even write to her at all. I thought about the time she said she liked my eyes. I replayed every second of that minute in my head. She really liked my eyes. The memory stood on my chest. The pain was good and bad at the same time. I couldn't move. Maybe I wanted something else from her. Something more. Something was taking root inside of me, something that letters alone could not sustain. Its roots dug deep. I flipped over onto my stomach and stuffed my face into the pillow, thinking about Kojima in the undulating darkness. And that's the end of chapter 4. Thank you so much for your patience with this series and for taking the time to listen to this story with me. I read over the YouTube comments of the last video, and everyone is so kind and it was really touching. I know everyone is going through their own struggles in their day-to-day lives, so I really appreciate you taking a couple of minutes out of your time to read this really important story with me. I don't want to get too depressing, but I think the story hits close to home for a lot of people, even though maybe not all of us had a Kojima in our lives. Either way, I hope that you stay healthy, strong, and keep up the good work and don't give up. In the meantime, I'll do my best to record when I can and maybe post some other stories. I also want to think about other things that I can post to this YouTube channel, so if you have any ideas, feel free to let me know. Thanks again for listening until the very end.